What do you think came first, Barry's or Hyrox?
Oh, I've known Barry's has been around for a fair while now.
I think it's been out longer.
Yeah, I think it has as well.
And that maybe someone was just going to Barry's and thought,
you know what, I can make an event out of this.
Yeah. How much do you think the endurance training will limit your strength capacity and vice versa?
So the term for that is the interference.
Today's guest is a personal trainer and hybrid athlete, Simon Donnelly. I'm going to be chatting to him about combining strength training with endurance training, the benefits and limitations. Let's get into it. What is a hybrid athlete?
So that question is a difficult one to answer because obviously you think of the word hybrid and you think of it being, it can be a combination of anything, it really can. Generally speaking, it's a strength-based sport, whether that be powerlifting, bodybuilding to a certain extent, or I question whether that fits into the hybrid category. Olympic weightlifting, strongman even. So there are some strongman athletes now that are actually doing some more sort of endurance events, not quite the level that sort of triathlon or anything like that, but they're getting more into that sort of aerobic base building kind of area. And then combining that with an endurance sport, so triathlon, long distance running, swimming, cycling, that kind of stuff.
Eddie Hall's always done a bit of swimming, hasn't he?
Yes.
I don't know if he carried it through his big strongman days.
No, I think it was more probably a conditioning piece for him.
I imagine Brian Shaw does some of that.
Yeah.
I've seen him on the rowing machine quite a bit. I definitely think he does a bit of conditioning.
Yeah, I think so. I think you find that athletes in that kind of space, when they're including that kind of stuff in their training, they're a lot more well-rounded.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think of hybrid and then immediately jump to like CrossFit athletes. I kind of separate both because CrossFit is being competent in a massive range of modalities and training styles.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, hybrid's more specific. You've picked sort of strength training, so for example powerlifting, which is the most common one, or powerlifting style training, and combine that with running or cycling or triathlon.
That's what I see. I see hybrid athletes as maybe powerlifters or potentially, I guess you don't think bodybuilding, but
I know it's whether you class that as like
weight training.
Weight training was the good way to
hypertrophy training.
Yes,
which I guess is bodybuilding without the substance abuse.
Yes.
But combining of that, to me, it's with either run, cycle, or swim. Yeah. That's what comes to my mind.
Absolutely. I think that's the sort of heart and soul of it, really.
And then CrossFit brings in gymnastic elements and some skill elements.
Yeah, that's what I think. CrossFit requires a higher skill level of competency across loads of different areas. So like you say, gymnastics, Olympic lifts. They've got to be fairly competent on a bike, swim and run as well.
I think that's why Hyrox is rising in popularity.
Absolutely.
CrossFit is so difficult to compete at as a recreational athlete.
Yeah.
Like, how many people out of the gym that we work at, how many people can do a muscle up?
Exactly.
Just and that's not even like the entry level CrossFit. They have to be able to do multiple ring muscle ups.
You have to be able to rep it out rather than just be able to achieve a muscle up. Whereas, like you say, Hyrox is essentially it's an accessible CrossFit. Is the way to think of it. It's everything that CrossFit encompasses. So high level of fitness. You need good strength, lots of different mobility ranges and things like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't require you to have that high level of skill for, like, say, gymnastics.
Yeah, it still has the elite element to it.
Yeah.
But just, it doesn't need
exactly.
I think it is literally the Olympic lifting and the gymnastics cuts out a lot of people that haven't done that from an early age.
I think it's aside from the skill level as well, I think CrossFit, as much as it preaches a good community and things, and I agree, the CrossFit community is very close-knit.
Yeah.
Financially, it's not very accessible for most people. Like, if you look at lots of CrossFit boxes, their memberships are very expensive. Yeah. Which causes issues. Whereas Hyrox, you can do the basic gym membership. You can train for that with a basic gym membership.
I have seen there's a gym on the Wirral called Empowered Fit, and I saw they've done a Hyrox class.
Yeah.
Their class might be the Hyrox event, but I have seen some people doing Hyrox classes, and I don't really see, if it's not doing the actual events in Hyrox, it's just a fitness class.
It is, yeah. It's a HIIT class essentially.
Yeah, they're just using the brand and just saying
definitely.
it's. I'm like, that's not a Hyrox class.
It's a brilliant way for Hyrox to advertise themselves.
Oh yeah, they've hit gold with that one.
Yeah.
I was like, they're doing just things that have got nothing to do, not nothing to do, because obviously any fitness is going to help.
Yeah.
But I can't really see the difference between some of those Hyrox classes. Now I know they've got a lot of equipment at that World Gym, so I'm not saying them. They've got the capacity, I think, to actually probably run something similar. I haven't seen it, but I've seen other places advertise it, and I'm like, I don't know.
I think if you're training for Hyrox, what you're essentially training for is to be able to work at threshold pace, cardio-wise.
Explain what that is.
So threshold pace is essentially where, if you're looking at heart rate or lactic threshold heart rate, which is sort of the limit to where your body can effectively use lactic acid in your system as a fuel source, as an energy system. That threshold is sort of where you're sat at. For example, for me, I know my lactate threshold heart rate's around the 175, 180 mark.
Heart rate.
Yeah, per minute. So
is that the threshold at which you're gathering lactic acid? If any higher, you'd gather lactic acid faster than you could clear it.
Exactly.
Right?
That's exactly it, yeah. So with that, I think if you're training and competing in Hyrox, that's sort of the area you're constantly going to be at. You're constantly going to be bordering that threshold.
Yeah.
So I think that style of training is learning to increase your aerobic base, learning to increase your lactate threshold, which you do by increasing your aerobic base and training at that level. And then also increasing your strength, but it's not just normal squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press.
It's
kind
farmer's
of
walk.
Farmer's walk, it's weighted lunges, it's sled push and pull, wall balls, that kind of stuff. So it's more, I guess, what you call functional fitness.
Yeah.
But yeah, the big element of it is you're doing, for a Hyrox, I think, is it like a 1 kilometre ski, then a strength movement, 1 kilometre run, strength movement, that kind of stuff.
8 movements.
Yeah.
And then 8 1K runs. So it's a lot of running. It's heavy running.
It is.
If you're a bad runner, you're really going to struggle.
You are,
even if you're amazing at the other stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. This is why I think it's the more accessible CrossFit. It's a more balanced, rounded. Like there's going to be people who excel at different bits compared to others.
Do you know what would be good training for that? And maybe it was born out of this to a certain extent. But have you heard of Barry's boot camp?
Yeah. I've seen videos of that.
I've never been, but they do. I think they've got like a step that almost acts like an adjustable bench, and there's some kit inside, and they'll go between the treadmill and then intervals with weight training on that. It's literally like a Hyrox.
That's perfect training for that kind of thing, because you're literally training the event essentially, aren't you?
What do you think came first, Barry's or Hyrox?
Oh, I've known Barry's has been around for a fair while now.
I think it's been out longer.
Yeah, I think it has as well.
And that maybe someone was just going to Barry's and thought,
you know what, I can make an event out of this.
Yeah. Let's make a whole brand out of it.
Absolutely. But yeah, in essence, back to the original question, like for me, hybrid training is that combination of two training modalities that normally don't fit together, the strength and the endurance side of things.
On the lactate threshold thing, I was watching Ross Edgley, who's, you know who he is, but he swam round Great Britain without coming to land, and he's just done a 72-hour
the Loch Ness challenge.
In swimming non-stop in Loch Ness. And I was watching the video literally just before this, and they were testing his lactate threshold in the pool. So he was doing lengths, getting a pace, testing it, and they were trying to keep him at his lactate threshold, not over, to figure out his pace. So do you know how you can do that without having to do like blood samples? Is there a way of doing it?
So it's obviously not going to be as accurate as taking the blood samples, but that's not accessible to everyone. So the way that I've known to do it, and I learned how to do it was, and I learned this from a company called Omnia Performance, ran by Fergus Crawley and Jonathan Payne. This is for running. 10-minute warm-up jog into 30 minutes all-out effort. Just you go as far as you can, as fast as you can for 30 minutes. Yeah. And then 10 minutes cool down. That 30-minute period, you take the last 20 minutes of it and you work out your average heart rate in that last 20 minutes. And that's your lactate threshold heart rate. Because that's it's not at the absolute peak, but it's at the point where your body's going, I'm going to need to start calling on something else here to start flushing that task.
So you're doing like a 30-minute warm up,
Yeah.
and then a 30-minute max distance run,
Yeah,
basically.
max effort run, yeah.
Okay.
So ideally,
How long? What pace can you go at for 30 minutes?
I held, the last one I did, I think I held 4:25 per kilometre.
And then you just look at your heart rate.
Yeah,
really,
then you look at your heart rate. Ideally, you'll have like a chest strap monitor.
That's quite good because it's quite individual, because everyone's
Absolutely.
got variable heart rates naturally. So it gives
This
you a
is it.
measure for yourself rather than saying it's between 160, 180
Yeah.
beats for everyone.
This is it.
Yeah.
It's sort of slightly better than the MAF 180 or the 220 minus age.
Yeah, I like that.
system.
No, I've never heard of doing it like that. I went to uni in Birmingham and we did it with pinpricks whilst on a bike and stuff. But obviously, it's just not practical.
No, it's not.
Even for me going into like a gym and my whole personal training, I've never had that kind of resources available to do that.
No, it's not something that a lot of people have access to.
You already talked about one person there, but one of my questions is going to be, who are your top 3 like hybrid athlete inspirations?
Good question, because I think at the moment there's not a massive number of people who are
I
like,
can only name 3.
yeah, exactly. This is it. So for me, it's Fergus Crawley's number 1. I think he's made it the most accessible out there.
Is he from the UK?
He is, yeah. So he's from Scotland. Sounds like he was born and raised in Surrey, though.
Yeah.
He's was a powerlifter originally, dabbled in CrossFit a bit, and then from there he's gone on to sort of develop the training strategies to be able to do a 500-pound squat and a sub 5-minute mile.
What's that in kilos? Come on, we're English.
Or 200 and something squat. I think just over 200 kilos squat.
Okay.
It's straight into a sub 5-minute mile, which was pretty impressive. He's also done things like a sub 10 Ironman on the same day. I can't remember what the
Sub 10 hour Ironman.
yeah, sub 10 hour Ironman on the same day that he did. I can't remember what the total was, but it was a pretty impressive
High
powerlifting.
powerlifting, yeah.
Yeah, so squat, bench, deadlift. Then he's also did something called the double brutal.
Is that the double Goggins?
No, he did that as well.
I heard something called the double Goggins. So David Goggins, obviously ultra.
Yeah.
Oh, what is David Goggins?
So former Navy SEAL,
Yeah.
US Navy SEAL, and then from there, after his very, very impressive military career, went on to do various endurance events. So he went on to do various marathons, ultra marathons. He did the Badwater 250, I think it is.
So what is a double Goggins? What was it?
So Goggins Challenge, 4x4x48, so 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
4 miles every
4 hours,
4 hours
for 48
hours.
Yeah,
And what did Goggins do? 4 miles every...
that was Goggins.
All right.
Fergus Crawley did 4 miles every 4 hours for 96 hours.
Oh.
Yeah, 4 days.
Did he manage to nap? He must have done 20-minute naps. Or
So
something.
what he did was basically he started at 4 p.m. and did 4-8-12, 4-8-12. That's how he sort of spaced it out.
Yeah.
So between the 8 till 12, 12 till 4, he'd sleep in between them. But the 4 till 8, 4 till 8, 8 till, that way around. The daytime ones, he wasn't sleeping in between.
Okay.
The nighttime ones he was. But what he found was towards like the 3rd day, he was just getting in, getting showered, getting his kit ready, having something to eat, having to drink, and he'd sit down to eat something and he'd just nod off whilst eating his food. So it eventually broke down. But he said if he hadn't had that pack to begin with, he wouldn't have been able to finish it.
Yeah, what a mad thing to try.
Yeah.
Who are the other two then?
So the other two are Dr. Phil Price, works with Fergus Crawley, but he's a lecturer at St Mary's University in London.
An athlete himself as well.
Athlete himself, yeah. He's big on his Hyrox, actually.
Yeah.
He does a podcast called The Progress Theory,
Yeah.
which is really, really interesting. It goes more into the science side of things and how to develop the most optimal way for performance in this space. But he doesn't just look at like running and lifting. He looks at things like cross-country skiing, why they have the best VO2 max scores out of most of the sports and things like that, which is really interesting.
And why is that?
It's basically because they are having to put their muscles under constant He explained this a lot clearer and a lot more scientific terms than me. But essentially, cross-country skiing, obviously high endurance event, you're going for long distances on very, very clunky footwear, essentially, aren't you? They're big, long skis that are very difficult to move in. What they're doing is they're constantly doing small squats as they walk because they're having to power those skis across.
Yeah.
So they're enduring higher muscular fatigue at a lower heart rate for much longer periods of time, which is increasing their aerobic base, which is causing them to be able to have a higher lactate threshold heart rate, and then also to be able to endure those longer distances and keep the heart rate down. And generally speaking, they're in colder environments anyway, so their heart rate will be slightly lower anyway.
It must be something to do with having full body as well.
Yeah.
You're having the arms and legs combined rather than just one or the other.
Yeah.
And then who's the third one?
Third one is an American bloke called Alex Viada, who's sort of heralded as like the sort of original father of hybrid training methodology. He's the one who sort of wrote the blueprint for it, essentially, and he competes in a lot of ultra endurance events and does a lot of promoting the benefits of strength training alongside it and things like that. And he's big on the science of it.
Right.
And
haven't heard of him either.
Yeah, he's worth looking into. Very interesting.
The only people I know would be, I'd heard of Fergus Crawley, maybe just because UK.
Yeah.
Ross Edgley, who actually lives pretty close to here.
Yeah, he does actually.
And then Nick Barr, I'd class him. Does he come under that category?
So I have mixed feelings about Nick Barr.
Is that because he body builds?
Yeah. I just think, I don't know if I count bodybuilding into the hybrid space personally, but that's very exclusive of me, and I probably shouldn't act like that. But
that's right. You can.
You're
allowed your opinion. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I think what he's done in terms of maintaining large amounts of muscle mass whilst also being able to run the Leadville 100 trail races and stuff like that. That is the bare bones of hybrid training, essentially, being able to remain strong and run far.
But it's not what it means to you. That's fair. No, that's all right.
But yeah, I think he's an impressive guy who's built an amazing brand with some really impressive supplements. I've had them myself and they do work quite well. The protein tastes really nice, and the Go On More Sport formula's great for keeping you on the move. Yeah. Especially through longer sessions. But yeah, Nick Barr is probably fit into the hybrid space, not the bodybuilding
creeping
side
in.
Of it. Yeah, I'll allow it.
Did you used to do like exclusively bodybuilding or powerlifting and then switch, or have you always done a bit of both? So
I've always played rugby growing up, and with that comes an element of both anyway. So I think
that is definitely hybrid.
I've always thought as rugby players as being sort of a good sport model for hybrid kind of performance. Same with like American football. Yeah, I think American football is probably slightly more power driven.
Yeah, I don't think the cardiovascular requirements of American football are anywhere.
I've never played it. So
anywhere near that of rugby. That's not to mean they're not as good athletes. Yeah. It's just they're like hyper niche into being explosive.
Yeah.
And I don't think. I think in Britain, playing American football, actually you need to be a bit fitter because you tend to play more positions and you've got less players, so you play more reps. But if you watch NFL, if a running back does like a 60-yard run, they'll tend to take him off straight away for the next play. Right, okay. Unless you're Christian McCaffrey, who's amazing. Not that anyone. It's a bit of a niche reference, that. But so I think rugby's definitely...
Yeah, I think rugby's a good example of a hybrid athlete-driven sport, definitely.
Or a good rugby player anyway.
Yes, a professional rugby player.
Maybe not Sunday League.
No, maybe not Sunderland RFC growing up. But no, I think, like I say, I played rugby growing up, so I was kind of part of that space anyway. Yeah. Went to uni, did rowing. Rowing's very similar. Yeah. It's a lot more lower body dominant, so my legs were a lot stronger than my upper body. Yeah. And came out of uni and sort of dropped off the running for a bit and just went to the gym, played a bit of rugby still. Yeah. But my cardio was essentially my rugby training. Yeah. And then fell out of rugby when I moved to West Kirby for a few years. Didn't really play there, and then I sort of didn't really have a training goal, and I'm not very good when I don't have a training goal. I need something to be working towards, otherwise I'll lose motivation for it a lot. Yeah. So entered a half marathon and was running a lot, wasn't really lifting anything. And then got to a point where I was just like, I look horrifically skinny. And I don't like looking skinny because I'm tall and I've got
How
a big...
How light did you get?
So I went from 115 kilos to...
That's heavy as well.
Yeah.
150. How tall are you?
6'1"-ish.
115 kilos. I know that's not heavy for some people,
No,
but you're not that now, are you?
No, I'm around 105 now.
And what did you get down to, sorry?
85.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I lost like 30 kilos.
Well,
yeah.
I've never been that big a disparity in my weight.
Yeah, I never had until that point. But yeah, I went down to 85 kilos and I was lean. I looked really lean, but it was because I was dead skinny for my size and my frame, because I've got naturally a wide frame anyway. So yeah, I did that. And I remember it was Tia, my partner, who told me, she was just like, Simon, are you going to go back to the gym anytime soon? I was like,
that's
why?
so funny.
And then ended up going back and went to a great gym in Hoylake called UTS, Underground Training Station.
Funny story.
Yeah.
So the old venue that we used to have, Synergy, over the other side of the bridge, Underground Training Station used to be, tried to set one up in Chester.
No way.
In that space.
Oh, really?
And it didn't work out
Didn't
for
work
them.
out for them?
No. And then,
Oh, fair enough. That's no way. That's so strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, the one in Hoylake's great. Really good functional fitness space, along with powerlifting lifting racks, and that's where I learned to do some like Olympic weightlifting movements and stuff like that as well, which is quite cool.
Cool. How much do you think the endurance training will limit your strength capacity and vice versa?
So the term for that is the interference theory, method.
Interference effect.
Effect, that's the one, sorry, yeah. So that is something that's quite sort of keenly argued, I guess. Is it that much of a thing? Is it not? I think if you're planning it right, it won't limit it too much. Obviously, you're never going to be the strongest you'll physically have potential for if you're training endurance as well, because it will have an effect.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. And just like if you're training for strength and you're maintaining weight above the optimal weight for endurance events, you're probably never going to run as fast as or as far as you would if you were at the optimal weight for it.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, it has an effect. Not as much an effect as a lot of people think. I think the way I sort of structure it is I tend to have my more intensive stuff, so sprints and heavy lifting towards the beginning of the week, and then it goes to more volume work, so longer runs and more either technical work, whether that be higher rep on accessory movements, or mobility work, stability work, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the week.
If you're going to do a double day, so let's say you're going to do a 10k run and one of the big 3 power lifts, should you do your cardio or your weights first?
Prioritize strength. So make sure you get the strength in first, I would say. The effect of a 10k run, which is sort of like average to long run, that's going to have more of an effect
on your squat performance.
Exactly.
Than squat performance would have on your current run.
You recover quicker from strength training than you do from endurance training.
And that's the same whether you're doing it split ends of the day or in the same session.
Exactly, yeah. I always prioritize strength training over it. Because
obviously you've just got to do what you can fit in.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to work it around your schedule.
People like to know what's optimal.
Yeah,
and we shoot for that where possible, don't we?
Yeah, you adjust it to what you need it to be.
Yeah. Do you have any? You're a pretty busy man. You've got a full-time job.
Yep.
You've got a part-time job.
Yep.
So you full-time career, like a corporate career. Then you're a personal trainer.
Yep.
And then actually, I think being a hybrid athlete is more time consuming than just being training, one or the other, because you're trying to fit in different modalities. Is there anything you do to manage to fit that in, time management, morning routines?
Yeah, so meal prep's a big one. Know what I'm eating the next day before the day comes around.
Do you batch produce or just the next day's work?
Varies. So if I know what we're having over the weekend, So if we haven't got plans over the weekend, I will batch cook. If not, I'll just come up with an idea of what I'm going to have during the week, and I'll know what I'll need in for it, and I'll allow time for that. Prepping the night before in terms of your kit. So if you're on a morning and an evening session, or if you're doing a big session at the beginning of the day or whatever, and you're starting early, prep your kit the day before. So I'll lay out, say I'm going to be doing leg strength, then into a 12k run or something like that. I'll prep all my kit before, so that will include obviously all my training equipment. So I'll be wearing shorts like I'm wearing now, where they've got the double layer in them. So they're comfortable for running in, but they're also comfortable for lifting in. They've got enough stretch in them.
Yeah, that's just to stop chafing, having the double
exactly,
layer.
Yeah. And I'll wear a top that I know I'm going to be comfortable in the gym in as well. Yeah. And it's not like a racing singlet, which is like just barely covers your stomach.
Yeah.
And then I'll also look at, right, what do I need fuel-wise? So will I need electrolyte sports drinks mixed up, things like that? I'll have them pre-set up in the kitchen, so I can literally walk down, grab the soft flask, electrolytes in, water into the bottle, shake it up, into the running vest, I'm good to go.
So basically nothing's happening by accident. You're
plan everything basically.
Yeah, prepping everything. I think that is it. I've said this time and again, but if you're trying to find time for the gym, it's just not going to happen. You've got to make time, put it in. I do a similar thing. I know what meals I'm going to have every day of the week.
Yeah.
I don't actually cook them. I've got credit to my wife for that. But we have a meal plan. We shop.
Yeah.
And then we're buying exactly what we need for those 7 meals. Yeah. And we'll change it week to week, but we have a vague structure, a bit like most people.
Yeah.
And it's healthy meals. I know at least we're going to get one healthy evening meal every day. And that's really helpful. Just knowing you're going to get vegetables, protein, and some kind of carbohydrate.
Yeah.
And then it's lunch, I think, is always a tricky one for a lot of people, because it's the middle of working day, isn't it? I feel like that's where either timing of eating or just structure just can be messed up.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you do about lunch?
So I work on like the reducing 3 method. So I'll have a big breakfast. So I'll have a bowl of cereal before training, then I'll have toast with banana and peanut butter on afterwards, a bowl of yogurt and granola and some fruit as well. So I have a really big breakfast. That's split before and after morning training. And then for lunch, I aim to make it smaller. So I'm not going to lie, this week has been mental at work. So I've had a meal deal from Tesco every day, which isn't ideal.
There's good and bad options.
Exactly, yeah. I try and make it as good as I can, but
what's your go-to meal deal? I love a meal deal.
I love a meal deal. So I really like the chicken and bacon subs that they do from Tesco. Those with either fruit or fridge raiders. Yeah. And then like a innocent smoothie or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's my go-to meal deal, I think, at the moment.
That's good.
What's yours?
I like Coronation chicken sandwich. Nice. It's just so good.
It is.
And then I'll get the fridge raiders or any chicken. The fridge raiders taste like absolute.
Yeah, they taste so processed.
They taste so bad, but it's like 10 grams of chicken. It's hard to argue. And then I'll go for a coconut water. I feel like the electrolytes help me hydrate. There's not too many calories. I try and avoid the smoothies. I just don't need that.
They are super sugary.
I don't need that much sugar just randomly in the middle of the day.
That's the problem I have is when I am in a phase where I'm having to rush out to get lunch to get back to work. If I grab a smoothie, I'll have a glucose spike halfway through the afternoon and then a crash.
Yeah, I don't think that's ideal.
No, it's not.
Do you know what's good? They do, in the meal deal at the moment, a lot of places they'll have, do you know what Tenzing is?
Yeah, I've seen that.
The Tenzing is like a natural energy drink. So the caffeine's from coffee beans, isn't it? Green. And then they do Tenzing. I don't know what I think of supplementing BCAAs. There's not a lot of evidence, but I still like the fact they put BCAAs. It's kind of like, I'm just a sucker for it. Like, I don't buy them like as a supplement individually. I did try them when I was younger, but I
think we've all gone through that phase.
Yeah, but I like the fact that I know there's some BCAAs in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. I think but like I say, I just try and plan as much as I can, and I get as much of the bulk of what I know I'm going to be doing throughout the week planned and set up before we set up, before I even start on a Monday.
What's your most favourite strength movement out of the ones that you regularly do? What's your least favourite out of the ones that you also regularly do? And the same for your form of cardio. Same question.
So, strength. I do like the big three. I do like, as well, I'm moving more now with my training into Olympic weightlifting movements. So I'm starting to teach myself how to snatch. I've never been good at it because my shoulder mobility has just been absolutely terrible to get the bar in the right position.
Yeah.
Cleans I'm all right at, clean and jerks.
Power clean or full clean?
Full clean, yeah. But like from the big three, I really like deadlifts. They're by far my favourite. Yeah. They just work for me.
And what's your least?
Least favourite? Overhead press, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
I've just never been able to. It just hasn't clicked for me.
Yeah.
I need to review.
Do you have shoulder mobility issues?
So, yeah, have done in the past. Yeah. So it's caused me no ends of grief and annoyance when doing it. Yeah.
And what about for, cardio wise? What's your what's your go-to and what's the one you avoid?
Running, love it. Absolutely love running. It is my main form of cardio. It's a chance for my head to switch off basically.
Yeah.
And I love trail running specifically as well. So loggerheads, Mulvama, all those kind of areas are great for it. Delamere is great for it as well. And then least favourite is probably swimming.
Yeah.
I'm not really built for swimming. I'm a bit of a big lump of a bloke.
I don't know about that. You couldn't. Ross Edgley doesn't look built for swimming. He seems to be doing all right.
He's got a fair few more resources than I have there, so I'll account it down to that. With a nice partnership with Gymshark. For some
I like his pool. Have you seen his pool treadmill?
Yeah,
that looks so good.
Cool. That is really cool, to be fair. Yeah. I've seen a couple of people who have those. It is a cool piece of kit to have.
Yeah.
But no, swimming is just not something I competed in it in school.
Oh really?
Yeah.
And it's not.
I've just never enjoyed it since.
That's fair. I think it does put a lot of people off swim training. It's just a lot of hours in the pool. A lot of getting changed.
It's the admin with it. Yeah. Like with running, I can throw on shorts, t-shirt, shoes, and go.
That's my problem with cycling. So I've booked on to what's it called, the Sandman triathlon. Yeah. So it's like a just over Olympic distance triathlon. But the bike training, like to do a decent bike session, you've got to have at minimum an hour. Yep. And then if I'm going to get my bike out, get changed, and it's pretty freezing as soon as you get out. Whereas run, I can do a good run in 20 minutes, I think.
Yeah, you can get great benefits from 20 minutes of running, definitely, yeah.
It's not that I don't like the cycling. I do quite like the open water swimming though.
Yeah, I've never really done the open water stuff, to be fair.
Wild Shore in Delamere is great. I'm going to go over the summer, so if you want to come down and join, I'm going to need some practice for that.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to just keep trying to convince you to join me in the Sandman.
I'm sure I'll give in eventually. I'm sure I will.
Once you've done one open water swim, and you've realised that you're not going to drown, I think you'd love it.
I'm sure I would.
Because you'd be fine with the other two.
Yeah, definitely.
And then finally, what personal goals do you want to achieve within the hybrid athlete space?
Really good question. It's because there's no, other than we discussed sort of Hyrox, there's no sort of hybrid events, as it were, yet. I'm sure there will be in the coming years because it's just growing more and more traction. I think
Benchathlon, max bench and then a run.
Max bench into max distance timed run.
Yeah, you get a combined score.
Yeah. A certain level of bench provides certain number of points. I've got this is where we make our millions, Tom.
Yeah.
No, I think there's a race next year called Loop that goes around Lake Windermere.
Oh, cool.
That I want to do. It's 73 kilometres.
Just running.
Running, that is.
73 kilometres.
Yeah.
What's that in miles?
It's just over 50 miles, I think it is.
Okay.
No, it must be a bit more than that, actually.
Sorry, I can't remember. On the maths, it's fine.
And if I could combine that with doing some description of powerlifting meet within 3 weeks before or after, I think.
Okay, yeah.
I'd be interested to see what the residual fatigue from one into the other would
be. Based on your own advice, you should do it before.
I should. You're right. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how my legs held up from max squat effort like 2-3 weeks after doing a 72-kilometer run there.
Mine would not hold up well.
I don't know if mine would, to be fair. I'd like to say they would, but I think unless I'd have to get fueling and the rest absolutely spot on for it.
What date's the loop? When's that?
I think it's around my birthday next year. So
Is you thinking about doing it this year?
No. So next year. So I'm doing the Snowdonia half trail marathon this year.
Cool.
Trail half marathon, sorry, in July.
Great.
And then after that, I'll be in full wedding mode. So I won't be allowed to do any more events after that.
That's
I don't
fair.
think. Yeah.
You can get back on it afterwards.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining me. That was really interesting. I know less about hybrid athlete space than I thought I did. So I'm going to look up some of these things. I recommend looking up that 72-hour swim. It's on the Gymshark YouTube channel.
I think
it's a little mini documentary that looks really good. And I'm going to look up some of those people you mentioned as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great.
Cool. Thank you very much.